Right now, World Autism Awareness Day aims to spread awareness about autism spectrum disorder and the obstacles that people with ASD face every day. Tonight, we are having this conversation because tonight, which is the 2nd of April, it's actually World Autism Awareness Day. And to have this conversation, I'll be speaking to Rosemary Kuria, who is a parent to an autistic child for the past 27 years, I believe. The son is actually 27 years of age at this particular moment. Now, Lincoln Okoth, who is an occupational therapist, and also Edward Makaria, who is a special needs educator. My guests are already in studio. We'll be having that conversation in the program tonight. Also tonight, what you can expect, well, if you are waiting to go to the streets tomorrow, that will not be happening. President William Ruto urged the opposition leader, that is Raila Odinga, to call off the demos. And in response to that, Raila Odinga said, we are willing to have this conversation. And if at all our needs are not met, we will be back on the streets in 1 week. My name is Brian Amwai. Start engaging us on our socials. That is at Amwai Brian on Twitter, at Lookuptv. The hashtag to use tonight is LookUpWeekend. We are also live on Facebook. Be sure to send your feedback there and tell us exactly what you think about the stories that we are running today and where you are watching us from, and also the conversation that we'll be having later on about Autism Awareness Day here on the program. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Philista Adunda. Let's get started. Now, President William Ruto has urged Azimio leader Raila Odinga to call off demonstrations and allow for a bipartisan parliamentary approach in tackling issues raised in the Raila's fold, particularly the recruitment of the IEBC commissioners. Ruto, who was addressing the nation from State House, Nairobi, called for a bipartisan engagement in Parliament over the reconstruction of the IEBC.
Months, I have talked to many religious leaders. I have talked to many elected leaders from across the political divide. My door still remains open for honest, objective, and sincere deliberations based on the rule of law and the Constitution. I am suggesting that the issues that have been raised by our friends on the matter of IEBC, my suggestion is that this matter can be handled in Parliament by a bipartisan parliamentary process so that we can agree on what it is they have an issue with, and we can adjust as is agreed and as necessary. In these circumstances, and in view of the recent events that led to loss of life and destruction of property in the demonstrations that have occasioned in our country for the last 2 weeks, I urge my brother Raila Odinga and the opposition to call off the demonstrations and to give this bipartisan approach a chance for us to take the country forward. Meanwhile, I call on all Kenyans to remain peaceful and law-abiding, and I assure them that the government of Kenya will continue with its sacred duty of protecting their lives and their property, including their businesses.
Now, Azimio Party leader Raila Odinga has called off demonstrations meant for Monday, which he had actually termed as the mother of all demonstrations. Now, speaking minutes after the call from President William Ruto to do so, Odinga termed Ruto's plea as a positive move for the country. Odinga has also welcomed Ruto's call for dialogue.
Leaders, it is our responsibility in Azimio la Umoja to save this country from the catastrophe. We as Azimio la Umoja have resolved the following. 1. We acknowledge Mr. Ruto's olive branch for a dialogue on key issues raised by Azimio la Umoja. To us, this is a positive development. 2. We agree that a balanced parliamentary process co-chaired by both sides and backed by experts from outside should proceed. In our view, this committee must be composed with immediate effect, with strict deadlines for resolving the crisis facing the country. 4. In accepting the call for the dialogue, we ask that all arrests and prosecutions related to our demonstrations be stopped with immediate effect. In view of the foregoing, we stand down our demonstrations for Monday, that is tomorrow, April 3rd, 2023. 6. But in doing so, we want to emphasize that the right to assemble, to demonstrate, petition, and to speak are ironclad as provided for in our Constitution. 7. Therefore, we reserve our rights to call for demonstrations should this process not bear fruit.
Right now, Azimio Party leader Raila Odinga earlier on had maintained that demonstrations will go on as earlier planned despite criticism from the government officials. Now, the leaders led by Kenya Party leader Martha Karua, who spoke during a Sunday service at AIPCA in Ruiru, Kiambu County, stated that peace can only be found if the government will grant their demands. Shadow Kareria looked at this earlier before that statement was released by the Azimio leader Raila Odinga later tonight. As the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition gears itself for another mass action on Monday, Catholic bishops are now urging President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga, as well as politicians allied to the two leaders, to stop issuing statements that may further trigger violence in the country.
Can't you listen to God? Are you saying God doesn't matter in this Holy Week? Surely, it was possible to give God a chance. It's possible to come down from our thrones and listen to him. We cannot say that we are going back to peaceful demonstrations. We've seen that we are going to lose lives. And we can't say as government that you have power and therefore you can't listen. No, because we need to listen in humility. Whether you are a religious leader, we as religious leaders, whether you are a political leader, whether you are a citizen, we have our role. And this Holy Week calls us to conversion and change.
Kivuva spoke shortly after leading the faithful in marking the Palm Sunday celebrations at St. Joseph Catholic Church in Mombasa.
We asked, but we have seen that in spite of saying we are God-fearing, in fact, we are so filled of ourselves. Today, the day when Christ rides on a donkey, humbly, and we are asking you just to come down and listen to one another, to stop insulting one another, to stop incitement, to stop the barricade of lies. We need truth, but truth that is real. Our dear leaders, must it be the death of one of you that will make this country get back to its senses?
Nyahururu Catholic Bishop Joseph Mbatia observed that the high cost of living in the country should not be the true cause of chaos and a platform for anti-government leaders to give ultimatums. Narok Town AIPCA church leader Benjamin Napasho has also condemned the chaos. The Second Lady Dorcas Rigathi Gachagua also weighed in condemning the planned demonstrations, terming them destructive and unhealthy for the country.
I want to ask you, how many of those businesses that are being destroyed there belong to the people who are in power? And we must, as Kenyans now, come out clean and make sure that whatever we do is for the progress and advancement for the future generation.
The condemnation of Monday's protest comes as the Azimio leader promises to hold the mother of all demonstrations on Monday. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv. All right, of course, that was during the day when the KCCB, bishops wanted Raila Odinga and President William Ruto to have a dialogue in regards to that, since that particular prayer was actually answered, because the two political leaders this evening did issue a statement, one calling off the demonstration and one urging the other to call off the demonstration and welcome dialogue. Away from that, 5 people have died in a road accident at Amabuko area along Kisii-Keroka Highway. Now, according to Masaba North County Police Commander Robert Ndambiri, who confirmed the accident, he said the accident occurred when a public service vehicle heading to Keroka town tried to overtake a motorcycle and collided with an oncoming trailer.
We are reporting a road traffic accident between a Matatu Nissan, which was flying from Kisii general direction to Keroka, and on reaching at Amabuko area, it collided with a trailer which was coming from Keroka side heading to Kisii. The Matatu was trying to overtake a motorcycle, but unfortunately, it collided head-on with the trailer which was coming from Keroka side. As a result, we have incurred 5 deaths. 3 are adults, 2 are minors, and 1 minor was a student from Malanda High School. And 5 were seriously injured. They were taken to various hospitals which are within the vicinity of Keroka.
Right now to a story that will be forming the basis of our conversation tonight. A special story tonight on World Autism Day. We feature Ryan Mugaka, a young man with a great vision that he can't express with words, but is willing to share his journey with autism that has catapulted him to be a fine hotelier working with Metropolitan Hospital. Abigail Shira tells us more on this particular story.
Autism, a commonly known disorder but least understood. The symptoms could be seen from the outside, but the beauty of the brain is magical. As the world marks Autism Day, we reflect on the theme of inclusion in the workplaces. As he skillfully chops the tomatoes and onions, one would easily presume him to be a regular employee in this hospital. With a charming smile and warmth, he runs his day typically just like staffers around here, except he is unique, living with autism, but one can't tell. Ryan Mugaka, a young man with a great vision that he can't express with words, but is willing to share his working experience at Metropolitan Hospital.
I was at home when I was talking to my cousin of mine to get attachment for Metropolitan, for ID, then the certificate, so that I was going to do here for serving the sick people. Yes.
And do you like it?
I like it.
So much?
So much.
His smile is a clear indication of a man who feels at home, with his caregiver attesting to an ease when it comes to dealing with him.
I'm autistic, like person who is a caregiver who normally helps me.
Nice.
Or serving the patients, or serving the guests food, guests, patients. Then sick people, they mostly they have diabetes. They don't take sugars.
So you know how to serve them?
Yes, I know to serve them.
Oh, Pauline is actually moved by his determination.
Ryan is a very disciplined individual because sometimes, sometimes people like to sleep in. So by the time I wake up most of the days, he's like up, dressed, he's iron on his clothes. Like sometimes I aspire to have his discipline in terms of working, even though I haven't worked. So yeah.
She can't hide her admiration of Ryan's ability to grasp concept and be swift in his culinary art.
I try my best to cope with him because you can say he's like a perfectionist. He likes his work done a certain way. If you don't do like the way he wants, you start you don't want to make him angry or something. So he's a social person, I can say. His interaction is very nice. You can say he's even more social than me in some ways. Yeah, he has some friends. He just likes talking to everyone.
Madam Caroline, the head of kitchen in this hospital, explains her first interaction with Ryan.
First of all, I was apprehensive and was like, okay, will I manage this? Keeping in mind, in kitchen, there is a lot of noise. There is fire. There are strange people he's not used to. And it is because of my limited interaction with the autistic people. Then, after interacting with Ryan, all that went away.
She states his unique features that make him stand out from the other chef.
I came to realize Ryan is charming, he's very social, he's not aggressive the way I thought. Yeah, he's just normal like other staff that I have.
She takes delight in working with him and hopes that in future he will be accepted into the corporate world.
I realize Ryan is very much organized. He's detailed, methodical, and whenever he grabs a concept, he does not forget. Not like any other students I've interacted with who have to use the recipe cards to write whatever they have been taught of the day. For Ryan, it's different. He should be given an opportunity to work in organizations, and maybe we should come up with policies where we can make them fit in those organizations.
Both Pauline and Caroline agree that autistic people should be given a chance to explore their areas of expertise.
Ryan has no problem with communication, even with hearing. He's okay. Yeah, he's very okay. For me, Ryan is reliable, just like other staffs. So he's a person who can be relied on by an employer.
I would like to appreciate Metropolitan Hospital for giving Ryan and me this opportunity to work at this facility, and I would also love to encourage other facilities to give people with autism such opportunities. By giving them these opportunities, it boosts them in life.
As you walk by every day, it is a privilege to experience life normally, but this may blind you from seeing the struggles that others go through. Today, this is an epic story of a determined spirit and a willing heart to achieve their goals. It is only a matter of acceptance into the corporate world, and you will see an extraordinary work that needs to be emulated. Abigail Shira for Lookuptv.
All right, now that story by Abigail Shira will be forming the basis of our conversation tonight, because today is World Autism Day. We want to get to understand some of the challenges they do go through, how to support a child that is autistic and how to care for them. That conversation coming your way in just a short while, because my guests are already in studio to have this conversation. Engage us on our socials at Lookuptv, that is on Facebook. Send us your questions and your thoughts on this particular conversation that we are having tonight. I'll be back in a few with this particular conversation.
Sensei Institute of Technology is the home to the best practical courses, giving you a hands-on experience to handle the world. A place to build your skill and see the world in a different perspective. For you to join us, ensure you have your national ID card and be ready to enjoy the ride. Sensei College, my skills, my future.
Kamata Mita Instant na Lotto. Draws ni 24 daily, yani kila saa na 50 bob unashinda zaidi ya shilingi milioni 1. Sio ndoto, unangoja nini? Cheza Lotto, it could be you. Nenda kwa M-Pesa paybill number 777-000. Andika neno Look kama account number. Cheza na kati ya shilingi 50 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ushinde sasa. Round hii ni more draws, more cash and big wings na Lotto.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Hey darling, are we still on for a coffee date?
I'm waiting for you to come and pick me up.
I should be able to pick you in a few.
It's a coffee yogurt date?
It's not just a yogurt. It's royal coffee yogurt.
Flow with the sweet taste of thick and smooth Royal Fresh coffee yogurt. Royal Fresh, the royal taste of freshness.
On our next episode of Hapa Kazi Tu, we bring you Destiny Best Supermarket.
It is one of the best supermarkets.
There's nothing sweet than to walk all around the supermarket just to find all variety of your needs available.
So we are the best supermarket here. Our customer service is on a high note because we put it together.
From the basic commodities to luxurious ones, they are all here.
I think ni vitu nyingi sana tunaweza brag about, from that supermarket yenye hakuna mtu anajua to sasa Destiny yenye ukitaja tu Destiny everybody would be like niko na idea hiyo super ni gani.
All this at a very very cheap price.
We want to relate with the normal customers.
Sio bei ya kutupa bali ni bei poa kila siku.
Yeah.
Catch us on Monday at 8 p.m.
How do women do it? Will the real superheroes please stand up? Welcome to the best show on all things women.
You can.
Now we have to tell you, on our show, we're not just talk. We're mothers, wives, working women, your hosts, and the list goes on. We also know how to relax and have some fun. It's living the life. Yes, it is.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your number one show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home.
When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served.
Let's go. Let's go.
Are you looking for a renowned institution of academic and professional excellence to kickstart your career? Then join KIPS Technical College, a top NEC, CASNEB, NITA, HRMPEB and KISIM examination center in Kenya, fully accredited by TVET Authority. We offer high-quality hands-on training in engineering, hospitality, tourism, journalism, ICT, business, accounting, hairdressing and beauty, health sciences, community development and foreign languages, and have placed over 26,000 graduates in employment since 1994. Admissions for April intake is ongoing. Call 0720-813-113 or visit any of our 6 campuses located within Nairobi. KIPS Technical College, your sure path to success.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray, 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 pray.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011-0430-158, 011-0430-158 or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Nairobi County, are you ready for the biggest TV roadshow? Lookuptv, the fastest growing family entertainment channel, will be coming to you live from your estate in partnership with Nairobi City County, Royal Fresh, Destiny Best Supermarkets, KIPS Technical College, Dagmar Lands Investment Limited, Sensei Institute of Technology, Stima Sacco, Emory Hospital, Kasarani Sports View Hotel, One Kims Investment Limited, and Ultrabet. Starting on the 4th to the 8th of April, our caravan will be traversing through the following routes. 4th April, Amboseli Gardens, Lavington, Reruta Satellite, Dagoretti Corner, Kibra, Langata, Rongai, Kiserian, Gataka. 5th April, Jogorod, Makongeni, Hamsa, Pipeline, Tasia, Donholm, Buruburu, Umoja, Kayole. 7th April, Juja Road, Pangani, Mlango Kubwa, Mathare, Huruma, Kariobangi, Dandora, Babadogo, Mathare North. 8th April, Muthaiga, North Fourthways, Kahawa West, OJ, Ruiru, Kahawa Sukari, Kasarani, Mwiki, TRM, USIU, and finish it off live in the CBD at the Nairobi Archives. We are welcoming partners and sponsors to take advantage of this high experiential and promotional opportunity to push your sales and brands in Nairobi. To book your slot, contact us now on 0110-430-158 or email us sales@lookup.co.ke. You can also interact with us on all our social media pages and get the latest news updates on our website, lookuptv.co.ke. Welcome on board.
All right, you are just in time for this conversation here. I promised you earlier that we are looking at Autism Awareness Day, which is today, the 2nd of April. We've just done a story there by Abigail Shira, just trying to look at the journey that somebody who is autistic actually goes through on a daily basis. And, you know, they've followed him all the way to where he works, how he interacts with the people that he works with, and we captured that. If you did not, then you can actually get to watch that later on our socials at Lookuptv across all social media platforms, that is on YouTube and also on Facebook. All right, now time to get deeper into this conversation here on the program. And just a reminder that you can engage us, that is at Lookuptv, at Amwai Brian, across all social media platforms. I'm talking about Facebook and also on Twitter. The hashtag we are using is LookUpWeekend. To have this conversation about autism, I have seated next to me is Lincoln Okoth, who is an occupational therapist. Thank you so much for making time for this conversation. At the center, we have Rosemary Kuria, a parent to an autistic child, and Edward Mwakiaria, who is a special needs educator. Thank you so much, lady and gentlemen, for making time for this conversation here. And just, coming in to help us dig deep into what autism is, why it is important to have this conversation, and, the Awareness Day itself. Right. Let me start with you. Somebody is joining us tonight who would like to understand what we are talking about. It is broad when you say Autism Awareness Day.
Yeah.
What is autism first? Let's start from there.
So just to begin with, autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder. So by the term neurodevelopmental, it means it affects the brain and the nervous system. Yeah. So it's a neurodevelopmental disorder that impacts the nervous system of a child, and it presents with the child having challenges in communication, social participation, and the child presenting with stereotypes. That is restricted repetitive behaviors. Yeah.
Okay. Let me come to you, Rosemary. You are raising a son who is autistic. At what point in life did you, figure out and say he's been diagnosed with autism?
I think our son, when he was born, first of all, he didn't cry immediately after birth. So that there was a warning that there was something not quite right. Okay. But I think also we realized that our son was different because he's our second child. Because of the delayed milestones. So for instance, the time you expect the baby to sit, he is not sitting. When you expect his neck to be firm, it is not firm. He walked when he was almost 2 years. He started speaking when he was almost 4 years. So it presented by that kind of delay. Okay. Just a delay in milestones. What you expect a child at a particular age, you find he's not achieving that. Okay. So that's how we were able to tell that he was different. But I think in terms of the diagnosis, I think we didn't have, I think maybe, and it's that the discussion we'll be having, is that we don't seem to have capacity or facilities that actually make that diagnosis. I think in our country, you just find it is families just discovering that my child is different, and I may not call it autism, but definitely this is a child they have a disability. Okay. So I would say ultimately, no. In fact, the only time I had the term autism was when we were living in a different country. That's when I had the term autism. Okay. At various points, they were just being called children with special needs. Right. But it is later we came to understand autism as a spectrum of the neurodevelopmental disorders that he was talking about. Okay. A spectrum, because you have both. You have some with mild and others with severe. Okay. So it's a spectrum of that kind of disability.
All right.
Yes.
Let me come to you, Edward. Rosemary mentioned something important in terms of sometimes we have no idea. Where in the country we don't have the capacity to actually identify and say, now this one is actually autism. So you will get a child that probably is challenged in that particular way, but the parents cannot be able to identify what exactly this is. So you come and just categorize as a mental disorder, something like that. How dangerous is that for this society?
Thank you, Sabrian, for having me here. To start with, the cases of misdiagnosis, yes, are there in our country. And when you look at it, the dangerous comes in the interventions that then are given to this child, because we are saying autism is not a disease. So there's no prescribed medicine. The only solution is the interventions that are offered by different professionals, which includes now occupational therapists, speech and language therapists, psychologists, and special needs teachers, as well as doctors. So in the case where then a parent is given a wrong diagnosis, or they don't get the diagnosis, and the society then label this child to have, let's say, mental retardation.
Okay.
As interventionists, what happens is we are going to come up with a treatment plan that is not addressing the real issue. So the issue of misdiagnosis will lead to the wrong interventions.
Okay. So have we had cases of, somebody coming to you in terms of they were misdiagnosed and it has taken quite a long time to, get them into the right kind of help that they needed? Does it happen?
Yeah, it happens. It happens, but basically what I've seen is late intervention.
Okay.
Yeah, misdiagnosis do happen, but what I've personally seen is late intervention.
What is the risk of having late interventions?
Yeah, so with the late intervention, now the chances, I'm an early intervention therapist, and research has shown that early intervention results to good prognosis. So having late intervention then now results to the latter. The prognosis now becomes, can be worse. Yeah, it's not going to be good as compared to now and
early intervention.
Early intervention.
Now, let's talk about this worst part. How worse can it get? What are some of the things we could look at and say, now this one, because of late intervention, there's some things that we can't actually, take back and things like that. If somebody comes to you early, what are the chances that they're going to be okay? What would you look at and say, I'm going to measure this and say, by the way, we, came in on time and this is what we can now see from this?
Okay. So autism spectrum disorder is a global impairment. So global impairment means that it affects a number of brain parts. It doesn't affect one region, but a number of brain parts, a number of brain regions or other parts that results to delayed developmental milestone that apparent with a child with autism I just talked about here. So some of those challenges are from speech and language, social skills. Human beings are social beings. It is through our social skills that we are able to learn, we are able to share ideas, and we are able to even explore our environment. And the behaviors, there are those behaviors that are considered normal. And you also have a lot of social norms that are unwritten that to these kids, they do have quite a challenge understanding the social norms. So with early intervention, we are able to address all these problems, ranging from their speech and language, social skills, and also the behaviors. Their behaviors, we are able to address those behaviors via reinforcement, either positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement. Yeah.
All right. Let me come to you, Edward. In this, where we have somebody that has come to you, and it's the parent did not get early interventions, and now it has maybe there are 5 years. The moment a parent notices that there are things not right when it comes to development with my child, what should be the first reaction? Should somebody be worried? Should they be scared and things like that?
Thank you. They should not be worried because it's not their mistake. It's what we have maybe as a nation. That's the support that is there. So as a parent, what as a profession would do is actually to work with this parent from that instant that they have come to know the truth. So what happens is, as you asked earlier, one of the risks or danger of having a late intervention, the rate at which our brain develops and learns, you find our brain is quite active to learn between 1 month and 8 years. So with the early intervention, then it means by the time this child is getting to 8 years, as a professional, as a teacher, I'm able to do a lot with this child. But with the late intervention now past 8 years, we are still going to make progress through the interventions, but they are going to take longer than it could have taken if this child got intervention from as early as, let's say, the moment the parent noticed my child has started skipping some developmental milestone, like crawling, creeping, they haven't developed speech. Those are just a few red flags that, as a parent you can pick. And even if there's no diagnosis, we say, go and look for the early intervention as you wait for the diagnosis.
All right. Rosemary, how was it for you in terms of identifying? How was the reception first? Let me just start from there.
A reception by who?
How you receive the news, or you just looking at your child and you say there's something that, in terms of development, I'm not seeing it go the way my firstborn son actually had. So how did you receive that when you looked at that?
It's actually very difficult, and that's why as we engage in a discussion about, seeking intervention early, that becomes part of the impediment. Because the parent or the caregiver must first of all handle the truth. And that truth sometimes can take long to absorb. Because all of us, when you get a baby, all of us expect that our children will lead regular lives. So it is not the first time you see your child has a delayed milestone that you jump to believe that now your child has a disability. You don't want your child to have a disability. And that is a process because, and then there is a stigma. How do you receive, how do you accept, because every parent who gets a baby, you have hopes and dreams and aspirations. And I think that is why as we have this discussion, I think we should have, as a people, a system of helping people cope with what the truth that is glaring at them. Because it is only when you have accepted that your child has a disability that you'll be able to seek the early intervention. And I'm in complete agreement with what we are saying about early intervention. Because my point would be, even for regular children, if you don't take them to school, you can have a child who has no disability. If you don't take them to school, and I think the early intervention is for every child. If you don't take them to school, then they will not learn how to read, even though that they have capacity to read. But the point I wanted to make is that it takes time to accept that your child has disability. You may run around maybe seeking other interventions. There are people who have been known to go to witch doctors because you don't want to accept that your child has a disability. Some we seek, first of all, you are seeking prayer intervention, which is a good thing, but may at that point not meet the need. So that contributes to the delay. The fact that we have not developed capacity as a people to actually counsel parents.
It also comes back to the parents, because in most cases when you're having conversations, we only focus on the patient, the person that is actually autistic. You don't focus on the person that is receiving the news about, this is my son, this is my daughter, that is being diagnosed as an autistic child.
And it is a huge loss. It's actually a traumatic experience, Brian, to learn that your child may never achieve what every parent hopes that their child will achieve. And that constitutes an impediment to actually engaging in the early intervention. And I think that's why probably as we go along, we should develop communities of support, so that people know that immediately I learn this, I can get some psychosocial support to receive that information, so that I hit the ground running with the intervention. Because I can tell you from the interventions that has happened to our son, he underwent speech therapy. He speaks fairly well. He went to a school where he was helped, a very good school where, when he was just here in Nairobi, he learned, that's how he was toilet trained. And they were very useful to that. So it is only when you accept that your child had a disability. So I would be recommending, as part of this conversation, that we also have support systems, because what I can say is that it is a very lonely walk to be a parent with a child with disability, families across this nation, they have no social support. That's why people lock their kids in the house.
Which is a very bad thing, though, because it actually contributes to delay in terms of interventions and seeking help for this particular child.
Because there is no support. Because if people think that God is punishing you for your evil behavior, that's why you have a child with disability, maybe your husband abandons you for having a child with disability. It's a lonely path, and I would recommend some kind of social awakening. So that we support one another. We support, especially the young upcoming families. Some of us are veterans, so we are hardened. But we need to, I think, to support the young families.
Okay, so you want to jump in?
Yeah, I wanted to answer something on this point.
Yes.
A real story that I met a parent last week from Baringo, and what they have gone through is the same denial, whereby you as a parent, here you have a child who has been diagnosed with autism, then you have the society that thinks, no, you've been cast, you did something wrong, or whatever you have given birth into does not belong to their community. And as a result of this, most parents or families actually have broken. Like this mom was telling us what was happening after she had been taken to all the prayers and witchcraft and didn't work. She got to a point she wanted actually now to kill her own son. And she tried like 3 times, trying to go leave this child in a certain hospital. By good luck, it happens that that day she was the first one to get to the hospital. So there were no the population that she expected. I'll get there, there's so many people, and leave my child. So there's a lot of stigma because of lack of awareness about autism, especially in our rural areas. And the autism awareness that is there currently is especially in the urban areas, let's say Nairobi. And this is just like 1% representation of the autism cases that we have in the country. So a lot is needed actually to get into the grassroots.
Let me do, because I'm speaking to people who've dealt with this firsthand. When it comes to this awareness, you say we are focusing so much in the urban centers because this is where we do this awareness in the rural areas. How would you suggest we go about making that, we touch each and every corner of this nation, in this world, when it comes to making this awareness, so that we don't get a child that did not get the right help because we had no idea what was happening with him?
Okay, thank you. So currently we have the National Council for Persons with Disability, and they have offices in every county. But now what we are lacking, we have the specialized professionals who are going out to steer or to push the agenda of creating awareness on autism. It's just the other day, we got a director in the National Council for Persons with Disability to represent people with autism, whereby as of today we have not felt that representation even at the National Council. And we want to push the same to the grassroots level. So what we can do, starting with the National Council for Persons with Disability, let's have the right human resource in the county level. Then at the county level, let's look at their roles. It should not just be registering persons with disability, because again, we have had cases where parents have walked into the disability offices with the children with autism, and then you are told your child is normal, your child has no special needs, because even this employing this national or disability office and government office, they are not aware what autism is. They think when people talk about disabilities, about someone on the wheelchair, someone who is deaf, someone who is using a white cane. So National Council can help us. Secondly, we have an institution like the Kenya Institute for Special Education, KISE. KISE is doing a lot, but whatever they are doing has not gotten to the grassroots. A lot of assessment, a lot of therapies are happening at that institution, which is located at Kasarani, which is still within the city. what happens to this one parent who is somewhere in Kitui County? So we need, as a government, to see how do we delocalize our resources from the government to get into the grassroots. When you look at the private sector, all the professionals who can help with the diagnosis and offer the interventions are still being found within our cities. So we need to get away of getting to the grassroots
Exactly.
levels.
Let me come to you, Lincoln. In terms of somebody now, wants to come for intervention to you. Yes, you deal with early intervention. What is the first step that they're taken through?
Okay, thank you. So the first step is we take them through what we call the OT process, occupational therapy process. So the OT process involves assessment. Then after it is through assessment that we are going to identify problems that we are going to deal with. Sindio? So after getting the problems, then now we form what we call the treatment plan, after which we'll implement. So any client that comes to us for intervention, we take them through the OT process. So after identifying the problems, we collaboratively form a treatment plan with the family, then after which we'll implement our treatment plan. Yeah.
Do we ever get to a point where you have a therapy that is not working for a child?
Yeah, of course, the diagnosis is the same, but the treatment plan is divergent or is different rather. Yeah. So because they present differently. Yeah. They present differently. Besides the presentation being the same, they present differently. So that means even the treatment plan must be different. Yeah. So that's why we take them through customized assessment processes. Yeah. There is no one assessment tool that caters for all of them.
Oh, it is not like the moment we start from it's early intervention. This is somebody that are just coming, all of them are 5 years or something. Then we say now all of them have to go through this particular plan. You have to. It is an individual kind of thing.
Yeah, of course, because they have inherent divergent strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. Right. It doesn't mean that if the diagnosis is the same, they are all going to have the same strengths, the same weaknesses. Yeah, so it do varies.
Let me come to you because I'm also running out of time, Rosemary. When your son was taken for therapy, how long did it take you to start now noticing, maybe a difference here and there in terms of speech and all that?
I think it's a process, and I think it's a process for which every parent needs to be, not to be impatient about. I've already told you that our son is 27 years old. And right now he's attending the Nairobi Early Intervention Center, which these two gentlemen, where they work. And I can tell you, even up to now, the interventions that are taking place at the center are still useful to him. And it's possible, in fact, I've been telling them that it is possible if he had received some of those interventions they are working with on him, he'll be at a better place. But my position is that it is never too late. Even for us regular people, we can always introduce good changes and which will improve us as like diet, exercise, developing our minds. So for me, I would say, for instance, the speech therapy, which was done actually outside the country, it involved even putting things into his mouth just to help his with the diction, and it was very actually it worked. I think that's why I agree about early. The key word here is early. And early means as early as is humanly possible. So if you are diagnosed at 10 years, hit the ground running. If your child is diagnosed at 5 years, hit the ground running. So at the point at which you become aware, hit the ground running in the interventions. But I can tell you, even right now, our son who is 27 is still benefiting from the interventions.
All right.
Yes.
That's a good thing. And I just want to ask you one more question in regards to that. You have 3 sons.
Yes.
This one has autism. How is it different in terms of raising the 3 of them in just that particular household for you?
I think what is very interesting is that since the other two, the firstborn and the lastborn, they are regular, but somehow they treat him like one of them, which I like.
Okay.
Of course, they are aware, and I don't think anybody should be trying to hide. I think it's important to explain, and we did that. We explained to the brothers that your brother is different.
Yeah.
But to their credit, they would fight with him like
it's normal.
Oh yes, oh yes.
So he's treated like a normal sibling today.
Yes.
To us, he's our brother, and I'll treat him the same way I treat this one, so that he doesn't feel like it's
Yes, and they don't expect too much preferential treatment.
Oh.
Which I like that, because I think ultimately because you want to be able also to discipline him, because as Mr. Okoth was saying, you want to teach your child with autism the social skills. So he should also be able to negotiate. If the negotiation is by wrestling, so be it. So I think it has been good.
Let me come to you because, as I wind up, because I'm out of time. Okay. How important is it to just make them have those social skills so that you don't get to seclude them and say, no, this one is my special needs kid. He's not going to be, sitting with you because you might injure him and things like that. Why is it so important? Because some people will not agree and say, okay, he needs to be taken care, pampered, so that you guys don't get to injure him in terms of when you're playing things like that.
Okay, thank you. So before I get to that, I just want to comment on something that my colleague has said. So awareness begins in the family.
Yeah.
Right? Awareness begins in the family. We are not going to create awareness to our neighbors, but within the house, the members of the family do not even understand what's going on. So awareness must always begin
in the family.
In the family. The family members ought to understand what's going on and how are we going to deal with this situation. Whoever is handling the child should always share information gotten from the professionals, like OTs, like the special need educators, so that we do have consistency of intervention.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 30 seconds because I'm totally out of time here. In terms of moving forward, what should we do as a nation from different quarters? What's your last word?
We need more of psychological support to the parents with the kids with autism spectrum disorders, or rather special need, if I put it like that. It is from the psychological support, psychosocial support, or rather psychological support, that acceptance comes in. It's accepting is a very hard thing.
It is a hard thing.
So it is after accepting that one is now able to seek for services.
All right. Rosemary, your last word to any parent that could identify sooner that their child actually is autistic and things like that.
I think early intervention is key. And I think also it is good to try to get into communities, because the interventions we're talking about for government, you cannot advocate without a critical mass. So I think it's important going forward that once you accept the diagnosis, try to look for like-minded people experiencing the same way things, so that if you are pushing forward for accommodation by government, then you need to do it as a group, not as in your own little cocoon.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, Edward, as we finish.
Thank you. My comment will be, as a country, we need a strong umbrella organization that will advocate for the rights of autism, whereby we can be able now to approach government and participate in the policy implementation and developing new policies that now are going to help us achieve some of these things that we've been able to discuss tonight.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. I'm totally out of time on this particular conversation, but I do appreciate that you could come in and help us have this conversation here on Autism Awareness Day. We have Edward Mwakiaria. Thank you so much, our special needs educator. You said you teach at
Nairobi Early Intervention Center, formerly Lily of the Valley School.
Thank you. We have Lincoln Okoth, who is an occupational therapist. Thank you so much for making time. And Rosemary Kuria, who is a parent to an autistic child. We had an awesome conversation. Thank you so much. Once again, I do appreciate your time. All right, that does it for this conversation here on Lookuptv Weekend. I do thank you so much for watching. I don't know if you're taking some sporting action, are we? All right, we are out of time. Thank you so much once again for making time for this conversation. It has been an honor and a pleasure to bring you up to date with the news making headlines and have this conversation. It is always important. And I read somewhere that it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes an autistic child to raise the consciousness of that particular village. I've forgotten the person that made that particular quote, but I believe it's very important. Do have yourselves a lovely night. My name is Brian Amwai. Sign language interpreter tonight has been Philista Adundo.